Hello and welcome to Texas Justice Review. My name is Serrano Capaldio. Today we're going to talk about this judge, how she stole the election from a minority. Her name is Judge Monica Purdy, and she's running for the appeals court place number 6. This is her card that she's been given out. Okay, so if you don't know the law in district court, how are you supposed to go to the appellate court in Dallas, Texas, and interpret laws for other judges that have ruled on the laws when you don't even know the law? So she got an election case where I was in personally, and in the election case, this councilwoman committed fraud, and we gave her all the evidence, and she never wanted to open up the fraud case because she's alleging that she does not have jurisdiction. Now, I didn't go to law school. I am a publisher of a newspaper, and I do a lot of research. And I have a couple of friends who are pro se litigants, and let me tell you something. We work hard as pro se litigants. When we represent ourselves, we make sure we know the law. We make sure we follow the law. We work very, very hard to make sure that when we present something to the court, it's not a mistake. I especially work harder because when I was a publisher, I sat in many courtrooms and I had to explain cases. So I brought this case to this judge, Monica Purdy, and I brought the law with me. So I did extensive research on the law because you have to, because a lot of these judges don't follow the law in Dallas, Texas, and a lot of other places. They just don't want to follow the law. In this case, there's a couple of criteria, and it goes like this. When you have an election case, it's expedited above all other cases. I had to file a temporary order of protection motion to get her to hurry to take the case. I had to file something called an England's motion to bring it back to her to expedite it, and she never expedited the case. So here's what went down, and I want to show you the complaint. I want to walk you through the complaint to the State Judicial Conduct Board that I am going to file against her and any single judge who decided we're not going to follow law, we're going to go politics on you. So when she's running for the appeals court, there's a lot of money that you need. There's a lot of election that you need. But within all of that, you also need the voters. And when the voters find out that you're playing games with a minority candidate who won the election, and there's somebody else who committed fraud on their documents, they lied several times, Monica Purdy was given this to rule on. So here's what she did. I'm just going to cut real quick to the appeals court. I filed the lawsuit. She's selected by a judicial system that's automatic. Goes to her. She was sitting on it. I'm like, why is she sitting on it? This is an expedited case. She's supposed to know this. So that's why I filed an emergency motion before her. We went there. The other side showed up. And it's a simple case. This is what you fill out when you're running for office. It's kind of too bright, but anyway, it's got information on it. And when you fill this out, you have to put your occupation, your true occupation. You have to put your residency, your true residency. She lied on that. She lied on the residency. She lied on the years from one year to another. She lied on the voting block. She lied about the time that she was in that voting house residency. That has to be continuous. So Monica Purdy got this, and she refused to open up the documents. In fact, Kathy Stewart sent 3 powerful lawyers. Why would you send 3 powerful lawyers if you've got nothing to hide? And those lawyers came in and they were like, hey, you have to meet 3 criteria in order to open up that application and find out if it's true or not. That is not true. How is it I know the law, but Monica Purdy, who wants to be in the appellate court, does not know the law? This is the law. If you find somebody, if a candidate or any citizen, if you find out that a candidate lied, what you have to try to do, okay, we're getting a child abduction, we can move that. What you have to try to do is 50 days before the election, you sue the fraudulent candidate. And once you sue them, it becomes an urgency for the judge who gets it. The judge has to immediately drop everything she's doing or he's doing. That is the law. And take this case. Why? Because the legislators did not want the judges to say, or the other side to say, it's too close to the election. The timing is wrong. To avoid that, they expedited the law on all these cases, which is rarely happens. So she gets this, refused to expedite it. She sat on it. I had to do the expediting. And so they showed up, Kathy's attorney showed up, and they go, hey, you know, he has to meet 3 criteria, which is wrong. You're not supposed to meet any criteria. This is a simple ballot challenge case that there was fraud committed on a document. What she was supposed to do was to say, look, I got to investigate this. I have jurisdiction over it. So she listened to Kathy's attorney. You don't have jurisdiction over this. And it's too close to the election, which is why the legislators say you have to hurry up when you get these cases. They don't want the excuses too close to the election. Okay? So anyway, she dismissed it. She dismissed it and said, if you don't like it, go sue me in court. And she got a nasty attitude. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm a publisher, by the way. I go after people like you when I find that you're committing things you shouldn't be committing. So I sued her. 5 days. She made the ruling on the 11th. So this was her ruling. Her ruling says, order denying plaintiff's application for injunctive relief. So before this court is an original petition contesting candidates' eligibility fraud by surrendering case value and defendant's plea to jurisdiction, and subject thereto response to application for injunctive relief. That's just lawyer talk. Response filed by defendant Kathy Stewart. After reviewing the petition, respondent an applicable law, which the judge didn't, and oral arguments, and I will get to that in another video. The court concluded that the plaintiff request for injunctive relief should be and is hereby is denied. And she signed it, she denied it. So I asked her in the courtroom, so my case is dismissed? And she goes to jurisdiction and time. That is not on the transcript. It is missing from the transcript. When I asked her, so my case is dismissed? I'm a publisher, I remember words. And she goes just like this, to jurisdiction and time. Missing from the transcript, right? So anyway, I sued her. Well, I appealed her decision, and I appealed the decision on the 15th. She made a decision on the 11th to protect Kathy. And the minute, I tell you something, I've almost 2 decades of publishing and reporting on cases. I can sit in a courtroom and watch a judge, and I can tell you how that judge is going to act or rule, even before they open up their mouth. I can tell you. And she was on it for Kathy Stewart. And all she had to do was to open up and say, look, I find discrepancies in this troubling. I find these mistakes shouldn't have happened because you're an attorney. You're not a lay person. And it clearly says occupation, and you're not an attorney because you're voted by the state, but Bar Association. And you said you lived here for 42 years when in fact you just bought the house about 2.5 years ago. So both years you lied. And I got to avoid this. And she would have avoided it if she followed the law. I knew the law. I applied the law, and that's why I brought the lawsuit. Anyway, so I filed it to the appeals court, and there is another justice by the name of Denise Garcia who's buddy with her. So Denise Garcia wants her next to her against the Republicans in the appeals court. Denise Garcia sided with her instead of reading the law and saying, look, an expedited case was supposed to be expedited based on whatever the code is. I don't have it in front of me right now. And in that expedited case, Judge, you're supposed to have pushed that case through above all other cases. And you didn't do that. So I've got to send this case back to you so that you can expedite it as soon as you can. Because that is the law. You have to expedite these cases. And anyway, Denise Garcia didn't do that because they run in the same political circle, the same special interest circle. And I know because I go to some of these events and I see them and I have their cards. Where's their cards? So I pick up this stuff. All the judges who runs in this special interest group, I know who they are, and I know how they side with one another. Denise Garcia from the Justice Appeals Court is siding with her on the wrong interpretation of the law. The law is this: you get an expedited case, you take it ahead of all your cases, and you push it through quickly, so no one would say, hey, it's too close to the election, and we can't change the ballots, and we can't redo the ballots. All that excuse goes away if you followed the law. She didn't follow the law. So I took her on her word, and I filed an appeal against her on the 15th. Do you know what she did? There was 2 motions before the court. One for injunctive relief. I guess that's the one where they're saying that it's too close to the election, or it might be all together. And then there's another one that talks about jurisdiction specifically. And so in the morning, so this is the, it's kind of bright here. So this is the appeal, the docket. This is her docket from her court. And if you want to see the docket from her court, it is case number, what's the case number on this? DC 25-03841. Go check this out. So in the morning on the 15th, I filed an appeal against her, which she didn't think I was capable of doing. I'm telling you, I have 2 friends now that are pro se litigants, and we all fight very hard to get the truth in. We don't go to law school, but we work harder knowing the law. And we take that law to them. Follow the law. I don't care how many tricks the other side have, follow the law and we'll be fine. So anyway, in the morning at about 12 o'clock, I filed a notice of appeal. I went downstairs, and you also have to file, I did it in writing, to the clerk. I want all your records sent to the appeals court, and then you have to contact the transcript person and says, I want that sent to the appeals court as well. So those 2 things have to happen. And I did it the morning of April 15th. And so I filed with her court that I filed an appeal. Then just after that, as it goes along the day, the clerk from the district court who has to send it to the appeals court send her a request in writing, and then says, we need these documents to send it to the appeals court. So her coordinator, I think her name is Monica Alonso, contacted me and says, why did you file with us the notice of appeal? You filed a notice of appeal? And I said, yes, I did. Why did you file it with us? Because I wanted them to know I filed it. I wanted everybody to know, just in case, because you have to give notice. You cannot file a notice of appeal because at the bottom it tells you, did you notify, it says, I, Monica Purdy, do hereby certify a true and correct copy of the foregoing has been mailed, certified mail, receipt request to the attorney and the other side. You have to notify them. Of course, you don't have to notify the court. I didn't know that. I notified her. So her coordinator goes back and tell her, hey, he filed a notice of appeal. So she goes back after I filed a notice of appeal in the afternoon on the 15th. Remember, she made her ruling on the 11th. This is now the 15th, 5 days later. The law tells her you have to expedite the stuff. Why are you even waiting 5 days later? And she takes the other motion order that the Kathy's people sent in and says, an order granting and sustaining defendant's plea to jurisdiction. That's the defendant right there. Before the court is defendant's plea to jurisdiction, and subject thereto, respondent application for injunctory relief. I don't know what the difference with the 2 is. One is injunctory relief for jurisdiction. Injunctory relief, defendant Kathy Stewart is filed by plaintiff. I don't understand why there's 2 different injunctory relief. This doesn't say time on it, so it might be for both, I don't know. Her lawyers, he was lying in court, so he probably doesn't know what he's doing. So anyway, Judge Purdy, after the appeal, grabs this, signs it, and puts it in the system. Now, when an appeal is filed, and your coordinator told you the appeal is filed, there's something called pulmonary powers. You lose that. You lose the power over all your case when there's an appeal filed, right? So why did she still file this? And it obstructed the case. So you took the case from a minority and you gave it to white supremacy. And let me tell you why is white supremacy, and I don't make accusations without proof. and otherwise it'd be an opinion. So Kathy Stewart, when her predecessor voted for the Confederate monument and he fought really hard for it, she dumped $1,000 in his pocket through his campaign for that. The very month that he voted for the Confederate monument, which is what's considered white supremacy, Kathy gave him 2 checks, one for $750 and the other one for $250 for his re-election campaign. So she's all about that, okay? That's why she paid that money. How do I know that? I pulled her campaign finance and I saw that. To Magoo, this very same month, the former councilman fought for the Confederate monuments. No distancing from him, applying with him. So that's when I say this judge stole the election from a minority to give it to white supremacy. I am not out of line here. This is what she does. They are playing games. They want the money, they want the power, they want the relationship, but they don't want the law and they don't want the truth. Because in the Dallas courts, politics before laws. That's how it works. And that's why I saw the Texas Justice Review. So I'm going to actually do in the next show on Monica Purdy's complaint to the State Judicial Board and show the obstruction of justice is what this is. This denial that she's denying, granting, and sustaining defendant's plea to jurisdiction. So she's denying Kathy's lawyers' objection to jurisdiction. And here's what she said now, after I did the appeal. Well, somebody might have called her and said, look, what you did was wrong. He's right. If once he filed the lawsuit before the 50 days before the election, and the law said you have to expedite it, you have to expedite it without any excuse or reasoning, no matter what Kathy Stewart's lawyer says, that you need 3 criteria that doesn't apply in the law. The law doesn't call for the criteria they made up. And she realizes this, maybe somebody told her. She says now on the 15th, after she ruled to dismiss on the 11th, this court has jurisdiction to hear the case. That's not what she said on the 11th. And you waited 5 days after I filed an appeal? So this is the kind of game. And so you stole this election. Had Judge Purdy gone through and said, look, I don't care about 3 criteria, it's not in the law. The law tells me I have to expedite this case and I have to investigate this case he brought before me. I don't see anything in Rule 485 that says I have to, get criterias or block or put a stumbling block before him. I just have to look at this and see if it's true or not. If it is false, I have to void this application and then he can do whatever he wants with it. Maybe I won't do anything, but I can't just let this get past me. The law said I can't. I have to look at it. So this is a fraudulent document that she allowed into the election. And now I have to go through all of that, maybe not even go, because she messed up. Suing Kathy again is fruitless because she's already certified. And it's too late to go back to her. She screwed it up. She messed it up. And now she wants to be an appellate court judge. If you can't get this right, if you can't get the law right, how can you get the other judges' laws right? You can't even get your own law right. So if this case went to her, she would have done exactly like Denise Garcia did and said, yeah, it's my friend, we run in the same political circles, how about I just agree with her? It's not about agreeing with a judge. It's about righting the wrongs. You stole somebody's election. You stole an election for my minority and you gave it to white supremacy. Why should you get to sit on the Court of Appeals? Why, Judge Purdy? Why? When you couldn't even get your own case right. And I want to do these quick videos. I'm not going to really do any, see Texas Justice Review and stuff because it took me 8 hours the last time to correct the last video. So again, nothing here is to take in as legal advice. This is my opinion. We are going to outline how we're going to file a complaint to the State Board of Judicial Conduct. I'm going to use the canon rule. I'm going to use how she obstructed this case from the appeals court and how she used politics rather than law. Let them deal with it. And then I'm going to cross-file it with the the State Bar Association. I tell you something, if you don't do a State Bar Association, they get away with stuff. Because when you file a State Bar Association, at the bottom of their application, it shows, have there been any complaints against you? And she now has to say yes. Maybe she doesn't have to say why. But those complaints are important to show when you abuse your position, when you try to help people who have power and money. And let me tell you something, Kathy didn't show up for her court hearing. She sent 3 powerful lawyers. She sat at home, relaxing. So this is how this works. I had to show up. I had to make sure all my ducks was in a row. I have to make sure I have the applicable laws. And I have to make sure that the judge doesn't challenge me. I run this stuff by different programs to make sure. And I ask, like one of my friends, she's struggling since 9/11, and she's teaching me some stuff, and I'm teaching her stuff, and she runs this stuff through a program, and I run it, and she tells me how to ask, and I ask, what is the most likelihood of the judge dismissing this? And then when you look at that, it says, then how do I apply the law when the judge won't dismiss it? And then we apply the law to make sure the judge does not have an excuse. There's 3 criteria BS that Kathy's attorney talked about. She picked it up from their attorneys. As a judge, you're supposed to say, look, you can ask for whatever you want. Doesn't mean you're going to get it. You can apply whatever law you want before me. Doesn't mean I'm going to listen to it. I got to listen to what he proposed to me. Is this a standalone complaint? Yes, it is. And there was a case that I gave a call, Ari Franklin, that went to the Supreme Court that specifically talked about this case. As soon as you get it, you have to take the application and immediately investigate it and look at it. And if you fail and if you do not expedite it, then you can be appealed. And in this case, because she played politics, waiting 5 days to file, that you finally can take the case after I did an appeal, that's obstruction. So I know a little bit about the law on checking politicians and judges myself. So we're going to do that. Anyway, this is Serrano. Please like, share, and let people know what's going on, and we'll continue to post these videos and let you know the truth about the judiciary system. Our next one is Garcia, who aided her. Denise Garcia, she's a justice in the appeals court. You don't aid somebody's wrongdoing. You correct it, and you send it back to be corrected. They didn't do that. This is Serrano Keith Baldio. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.
We stand alone, but we're not giving in. Texas Justice Review fights to win. When justice fades beneath the shadow dome, and you're left to fight each battle alone, hear the call, feel the fire ignite. Texas Justice Review stands for your right.